Great, thanks. So, hello everybody. My name is Laurent Tessier. I'm an assistant professor at Catholique University of Paris, and I am vice rector for digital activities.
And I am Michaël Bourgatte, and I am assistant professor at the Catholic University of Paris too. And I'm the head of the DH Center, l'Atelier du Numérique, which means digital workshop. A DH Center we created 3 years ago, focusing on 3 goals: bringing together a faculty member engaged in DH research in our university, training fellow researchers to design innovative courses or digital resources, and thirdly, developing digital softwares, application or services, and implementing innovation in our university. In 2013, as part of the activities of our DH labs, we organized the first conference, which led us to the publication of proceedings. During the event, in a DH perspective, we wanted to make scientific papers and panels allowing exchanges between researchers, innovators, and professionals of digital worlds. Following this event, we published proceedings, but the process, like it is always the case in academic world, was long and tedious. It took more than a year. Moreover, this conference proceeding only took account for the scientific papers, losing the richness of the event itself and what made DH specificity. Following these experiences, even if the scientific results were interesting, we listed the items that didn't satisfy us and on which we wanted to work. First, during a DH event, there are not only scientific papers, there are also workshops, hackathons, book sprints, several activities that do not find their place in a regular conference proceedings. Articles published in conference proceedings do not reflect the dynamics and the creativity of the exchanges that occur during the event. And thirdly, the proceedings get published a long time after the event, and this is not suitable for the pace of science in a digital context. For example, the life itself of the online references inserted in the conference proceedings are not always assured. Very often, when the paper is published, the links are not longer available.
So, you could say that the process of the conference, the classic conference proceedings is a good way of dissemination that meets the expectations and the needs of conventional humanities laboratories. But if you're in a DH lab, it quickly seemed to us that there was something new to create. So this is the reason why at the beginning of this year, 2016, when we decided to organize a new scientific event, we thought it was a good opportunity to experiment a new way of disseminating the results of our DH lab. Especially since we wanted to organize some kind of hybrid event, which was both a scientific symposium but also an ed camp, educational camp, so on the model of the DAT camps or bar camps, so all these events where sessions can be determined on the day of the event, and anyone who attends can be a presenter, anyone can lead a workshop or engage himself or herself in any activity. So, publishing an accurate record of this type of event raises a number of questions that we wanted to take. So, first, in the traditional conference, you will have maybe 10 or 20 people speaking and 100 people listening. So, in a way, editing the proceedings is easy because you just have to ask the 10 speakers to write a text and then you publish it. While if you're in an ed camp or a DAT camp or so on, if you have 100 people attend the event, in theory, these 100 people should participate to the editing of the proceedings. Second difference between a traditional conference and a camp. In a conference, the speakers prepared the paper before the event, and with the ED camp or the DAT camp, there is much more content that emerges during the exchanges. And the third point, in the ED camp or the DAT camp, and maybe in a lot of DH events, there are now almost as many things happening on social networks as in the conference rooms, for example, on Twitter and so on. So accounting for this type of event implies also to capture these online exchanges. So for all these reasons, we wanted to create a new type of proceedings to meet these challenges.
In order to move forward and to make this happen, we decided to include a publisher in the process. We did it with Michaël Feloni, you can see his face on the pictures, of the MKF editions, a French publisher who experiments new ways of publishing. While brainstorming with him, we focused on a process born in the field of the age, the book sprint. What is a book sprint? A book sprint is a way of creating a book very quickly, for example, a tutorial or a translation of a book, by bringing a team of specialists together in a room for a short period of time. The result is a book published online or published using the process of the print on demand, and most of the time the book is distributed freely. Thus, the idea was initially to lead a book sprint during our ED camp, but with a huge difference. We did not want a book made from pre-existing text. Our idea was to edit conference proceeding in real time in a collaborative manner. In that way, we decided to call this dissemination process a media sprint, because it was edited in real time and it was not only composed of textual material but also of images and videos.
So the core of this experience, of this experimentation, was collaborative note-taking during the event. To do that, we had to choose a tool allowing this collaborative work. So our first guess was maybe we could use Google Docs, for example, which is maybe the most famous and powerful and easy to grip tool dedicated to collaborative writing. But also it seemed to us that in a DH lab, in a DH perspective, maybe this was not the best thing to do. In our perspective, in this kind of situation, a DH lab should always either try to develop its own tool or use free and open source technologies developed by other teams. And it's only when none of these options is available that the DH lab should choose proprietary tools. So we used an open tool that is called Fromapad, a French tool. But also we have to say that sometimes the use of proprietary technologies can be necessary. For example, we used a lot Twitter during the event, and of course the use of these commercial services in a DH lab should always be questioned.
During the opening of our ED camp that took place in Paris at the very beginning of the last September, we explained our plans to the participants. First, we encouraged them to use the collaborative page to take notes instead of taking ones on their personal device. And we were pleased to see that they effectively used the page. And we are also pleased that they did tweet, took pictures on Instagram and so on. Michaël, our publisher, monitored all this data in live, collecting text, tweets, images, and began editorializing them during the event. At the end of the EdCamp, at the end of the second day, a first digital version of the proceeding was available online and shared with the participants. And from this date, they had a week to make correction on the pads before the final digital and paper edition. The result is a hybrid editorial object, including text, tweets, photo, flashcards, which refers to the video, and a bibliography, which is not included in the book itself, but edited and accessible on Zotero, also via a flashcard, with the idea to enrich it and to give it a longer life.
So, in the end, we are very aware that this hybrid book, hybrid text, is not perfect. Nevertheless, we believe that it cannot answer some of the questions that we raised. Among the questions that still arise and which we would like to maybe to discuss with you, we can mention two questions. The first one is how to assign discourses written in a collaborative and partly anonymous way. I give you an example. If you look at the text resulting from the opening conference, it was given by a professor, Milad Douei. What you see in the book is not the discourse of the speaker. The text is the result of what the participants understood and what interested them. So, in the process of taking notes collaboratively, they could miss things or even misinterpret parts of the speech. In order to counterbalance this, we inserted in the text flashcards to link it to the video of the original speech. The second question concerns the scientific uses of the book. For example, how does one quote something in that kind of book? Because among the participants named in the book, you have people that are mentioned with their full names, but you have also people that appear in the book only with their Twitter ID, and there are also those who contributed anonymously on the pads. So, very prosaically, where to classify the book in your research resume, for example, if you're in the book, how to present it. We had this question just last week, someone that were in the event and read the book and see, okay, this is me saying that, but just my name doesn't appear. So how can I use this, for example, put this in my research resume and so on. These questions that are both scientific, institutional, and editorial seem to us typical of those that must be solved today in a DH lab. So we hope that this experiment, this media sprint will give you ideas and maybe be taken up and improved by other DH teams. So thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we have plenty of time now to ask questions, and I guess this kind of presentation really requires questions.
Could you explain a bit more on the role of the editor, the media editor that you employed? What kind of control did that person have over the process? What kind of model of the output did that person bring into this process?
Well, he had a very important role, and of course the work that we had with him before the event, also to make him understand the scientific goals, and so make him understand the content of the event was fundamental, because he worked all along the 2 days, so editing, like Michaël said, live, all what was said. Then, of course, he did this first draft, and as Michaël said, then all the researchers that were participating to the event had 1 week to make corrections. So because of course, yeah.
This is a question of editorializing a book. This is not our work. We don't know how to put the pictures inside the book, where to put the tweets, how to organize the discussion of the relationship between tweets, some part of notes taken into the pads, videos, etc. So the editors decided, and there is a cost also, to time to work, the cost of the book, etc. So it's a question of rationalizing the process in a short time with a different type of media and so on. So this is the reason of we decided to include an editor, a publisher into the process.
I mean, just to clarify, I find this absolutely the right way to go, because the output, you would otherwise not be able to generate that output almost in real time with the event. But on the other hand, what happens if you get the wrong person to do the job? Because it's not just layout questions, it's also conceptual questions, and that's what really interests me. You know, what if you get somebody who is too close to the subject area and takes personal investment into something, into a debate, or if you get somebody who simply doesn't understand it, and you know, you're looking through the lens of an editor, as you do in any edited volume. That's sure. And of course, you have this corrective of the commentary afterwards, which is fine, but still, so much hinges on the quality of that live process.
Yeah, that's right. And also, as Michaël said, the publisher, the editor, had the power of saying, for example, this idea is very good, but if we do that, it costs 2,000 euros more. So, yeah, he had this power also. So.
Artificial intelligence, wouldn't it solve the problem in a couple of years?
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
of course.
I was going to ask, because we've done things in UCC with online teaching where we've had people live blogging and tweeting and video, and it occurred to us when you came out of those sessions that what we were looking for to coordinate it was a profession that doesn't yet exist, because it's not book editing, and it's kind of like live TV editing, but it's not, because there's multimedia in there as well, so that you certainly need the facilities of almost a live TV studio, but you need someone with a very unique set of editorial skills and possibly a couple of assistants to weave all these things together to actually produce a product, and it's quite scary when you're in the middle of doing it. You realize that you need a whole set of skills that you haven't got in the one body yet. But it seems like a case where we're actually creating a new professional definition for a new type of editor, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the designer, the publisher is someone that precisely defines himself as laboratory editing. So he wants to create new forms of editing. So this kind of also of person. But also in our DH lab, we have a person that is very important that we didn't mention, that is a designer. So we work along with the designer all the time in this kind of process and events.
And the designer is able to take pictures, to take videos, etc.
Yeah.
I actually already have a microphone.
Oh, sorry. Because, yeah.
Is it okay?
No, yeah.
Thank you for a great presentation. My question is, did you have any experiences about conflicts or misunderstandings or something like that among the participants? And if so, in what ways would such situations be dealt with? How would you resolve that? What would be the process of coming to a joint resolution and conclusion?
It didn't happen. I don't know why it didn't happen, because we were very afraid of that, and especially for the opening conference and closing conference. It was two, very well-known professors, and so we were very afraid that there would they find in the book something that doesn't correspond to what they said, and especially it was interesting in the opening conference, for example, it lasted for maybe 45 minutes, and you see in the conference that there are 20 minutes in the middle of the conference where absolutely no one take notes, so the people were not interested at all. So and so, you know, for the people doing this, you see, okay, there was really 20 minutes of what I said that just doesn't appear. So that's also interesting in a way, but yeah. There was a...
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for this interesting talk. My question is that what is the difference between your initiative and the one undertaken by RTBdoc in France, that is Réseau thématique sur le document numérique, who the leader was Jean-Michel Salin from INSIP. So apart from the fact that it is multimedia in unconference proceedings, what is the main difference between this type of initiative and the one undertaken by Jean-Michel Salin, where it was a network of about 4,000 to 1,000 persons working, and the editor was all of us know it was the chief editor is Jean-Michel Salin, but no one is calling these proceedings or publications as a product of Jean-Michel Salin, but of this RTBdoc. I don't know if there is a main difference.
No, obviously it is related. I don't know. We are. There are a lot of initiatives of this type today, and so our main focus was on the question of proceedings. So that was the point from where we draw, and the idea was also the idea of getting faster, because we were thinking if you experiment things in DH community, getting published 2 years later, it's too late. Yeah. So we have to be faster. So that was also, but it's related, obviously. Yeah.